All right, ready, boy, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Frankie J Raw. That's with two W's, ready, able, willing, whenever, to talk about anything, anytime with anyone. I'm your host, Frankie J, and as always, I'm always prompt, here on time, and ready to rhyme. And I have a really good one for you tonight. Thanks to everybody that showed up for the last couple of shows. Couple really good ones. We thank Graciela Moore and the shows before that, everyone that was on my panels for that really deep discussion, which was really good. Got a lot of feedback. We'll go on over that some other time. But anyways, my guest today is a really, really long time great friend of mine, local here in the Buffalo and Niagara Falls region, professional workforce employee first and foremost, a father or husband and all that other good stuff, or boyfriend or whatever you want to call us these days. And on top of that, a professional, determined, and committed comedian. And his name is Rich Lambo, also known as Solo Shows. And we're going to get into that in a minute. And I'm going to bring him up on camera here so everybody can see his ugly mug so that I'm not as ugly as normal. And we'll get things going here with Rich Lambo. Let's see if he's able to come up on camera. Maybe I might have to invite him. I'll invite him just in case, because I still don't know the ins and outs of VIP. There he is. Rich Lambo, a.k.a. Solo Shows, in the house tonight. Thanks for being here and taking time out to join me, Frankie J, the one and only, on Fireside here, and taking time out of your special schedule tonight. I'm certain you have one. And to start things off, why don't you... only thing I want to know, first of all, before we get into our conversation, Solo Shows. Where did that come from? Because I've seen it for years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
And I've never asked you that. And I've asked you some pretty crappy, weird things.
Yeah, I was just wanted to stay quiet and let you keep doing that wonderful intro and compliments, and it was good. You know, when the internet first came out, when Al Gore first invented it, I had been in the comedy world for a little while, and at the time, I was working in an improv group, and we had a phone tree where we'd phone each other with information, you know, maybe an upcoming practice or a cancellation, whatever. And once the internet came around and I got email, I was one of the last people to get it. So at the time, I was studying the art of the one-person show. So hence a solo show. But then the Z came around on the end, because at the time I was in the improv group Comedy Sports.
Okay.
And that ended in Z. So yeah, no one's ever really asked. People have been scared away from solo shows. Like, oh, that kind of sounds creepy. Well, what kind of solo show you doing? You know,
it's kind of cool. Well, that's why I'm different, right?
Yeah. Back when the internet first, you know, when you moved out of a chat room, because you just had to have kind of a name that was a bit mysterious or misleading or ponderous, but solo shows came around like that, and I spoke with a very famous one-person actor, a solo show, and he says, "Cool screen name," and no one's complimented it since '92. So thank you for that compliment.
I think it's a great handle. I've had Stealth 14226 as my main, and over the years it went from AOL.com to this.com to gmail.com to yahoo.com. And now it's at iCloud.com. Apple got its hands on it. But I've had that since 1996, actually. And I had a 1992 Dodge Stealth car. So I came up with Stealth 14226 as an email address. And I still have it.
Jeez, I'd be Galaxy 1969, but that was the year of the car.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I've had solo shows at AOL. People laugh something. Oh, AOL, and Hotmail is so much more conducive and non-hackable. But I never. Well, I don't say it right, but I've had good luck with
AOL until tonight. Yeah, until the show ends.
Yeah.
You've got mail.
I get whacked.
Yeah, you got mail. Not the kind of mail you want.
I tried to go in and look and see when I actually, got the screen name, and then I had Solo Shows with an S, and all that crazy stuff with chat rooms. But yeah, that's how it started, and I went from being on the phone tree to having email. And when I first started comedy, there was no internet. I remember going to Barnes and Noble and looking at satellite television books to see what comedy specials existed. I
Oh
mean, now
wow.
you've got the Netflix, comedy channel. And I said, oh, look, there's a special playing, you could never dial it in. But I mean, it was that tough, other than maybe HBO or,
Yeah.
Comedy Central would show it. But I would go to Barnes and Noble. I'd actually go to the Niagara Falls Library in the reference section and look up, things and books. And I have photocopies still of things I was researching when I tried to learn about comedy. So most people can't imagine without an internet to look things
Yeah.
up.
I was
If you
just gonna
got
say
interested, yeah, you went to the library, you
you had to
bought
do
books.
work.
Yeah, you had to do a lot of work.
Yeah, you had to do a lot of work, and it's amazing if you were to take. I've often said this to people when I get mad at the younger generation, and when I say younger generation, I'm 44, and people still say I'm young. Fine, I'm still young. Okay, however, I do remember the days without internet, without
Hmm.
beepers, without cell phones, and I survived better then than I do now. It was
Oh yeah,
easier. It was easier, and
yeah, because you
you
could
had
avoid people.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was no such thing as ghosting or leaving people on red, and all this LOL and OMG and all this jazz. It was just the lights went on, the street lights went on. You went home, and that's when we break them out with the footballs so that they would never go on. But we came up with things. But it's if you were to, I've often said, what if we were to just have one 24-hour day a year, like the movie The Purge, that 24-hour period where you could legally go out and kill people, right? But for 24 hours, internet, smartphones, all that just don't function for 24 hours. What do you think would happen?
Oh, it'd be Y2K for real, right?
Yeah.
Generator sales would go way up or something, but I think that would stop most people in their tracks. Not
Yep.
only could they could not get their digital heroin and affirmations, but you couldn't function with ordering and clicking and ticking, and you'd have to think more. But yeah, I think it would be pretty wild. You still take a paper tag at the deli, so I guess you maybe do that.
Yeah. Hang on. Why are you at the deli all day? I need something to do, man. Need something in my hands.
Yeah.
But no, I've often asked that question. And at a party a few years ago for my nephew, they were celebrating his graduation from high school, and I made the joke: everybody leave your phones on the table for an hour and see if we could all survive without it. Because everyone's sitting at their tables on their phone at a party. I'm like, I left my phone in the car, because I don't want to be that guy. But everybody else is sitting around on their smartphones. I remember years and years and years ago when people go to parties, when we used to all party. So I mean, we didn't have the cell phones. We weren't worried about it. We just party. And, you know, that was it. Now it's like you go to a party or even a Bills game, everybody's sitting there on their damn phone. I'm blown away by it. I think they ought to do a 24-hour day, one day a year, where they shut down the capabilities of smartphones and internet just for one day a year, and just let people sulk in reality for a minute. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised the psychological games that would play on people. I think the 5150s would go up that day at ECMC, but that's just me being Frankie J. The
You could
one,
you could try you could try that. You could there's like the sober October and the no
yeah,
shave November and
yeah,
things like that. But to really see, yeah, what would happen to you, and I think it really is like a modern day Twilight Zone episode, like that one where the guy had to go a whole year without talking at this
oh
exclusive club, and they put him in a
God,
glass box, and
man,
he essentially went mad, and it's quite maddening, that episode.
yeah, I, I, I don't know what would happen. I'd almost be like, I think I have to like put my apartment on lockdown and have every wall protected. But I wouldn't be able to use security cameras because those use
Yeah.
internet. I'd have to go back to the old school golf club at one entryway, baseball bat at the other,
Yep.
and sit in the middle on the ground waiting. That's probably what I would do. I still kind of do that because I have a crazy ex-wife out there. Well, no, actually, I don't think she's an ex yet because I don't. I can't remember if we got divorced or not. I haven't seen her in a while, but that's another day, another show. I'm still trying to locate her. I'm trying to get that locator guy from Dr. Phil to find her. He has this guy that comes on. He locates people. That's his job. He can't even find her. So
Dog the Bounty Hunter, right?
Oh, I don't even think he'd take on the case.
That's too tough
He'd
for
be
him.
like, aloha.
Yeah.
Good luck with that one, brother.
Yeah, his security vest and can of mace wouldn't hold up in the real world in that
No,
case, right?
and the metal tipped cowboy boots. He's trying,
Yeah.
go get him, son.
Yeah. Oh, it's his complexion that's his greatest resource to scare and make people step back. So
the mullet. You know, you know how he became a bounty hunter. A lot of people don't know this.
No, I don't know how I know how Mr. T became a bouncer, but I don't know how Dog became a bounty hunter.
Dog the bounty hunter spent 2 years in a Texas penitentiary. When he was a younger guy, he was part of a motorcycle club, actually. And he got himself into trouble for murder. He was part of a murder and did 2 years in a Texas penitentiary. He never said the name of it. And one of the prison guards there told him as a motivational talk, you should become a bounty hunter when you get out of here. Do something good with your life. So he went and found a job at a bondsman place becoming a bounty hunter. And that's where he met Beth, his wife, because Beth was actually a customer and needed the services because she had been locked up and had to bond out. And where he worked as a bounty hunter, fresh out of prison, was where he met Beth, his wife. That's a true story.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. He made his millions on being a crazy bounty hunter in the worst parts of Hawaii, which is, I guess, where to make money if you're a bounty hunter.
Well, finally, someone who took crystal meth and used it as a career catalyst. That created his audience, you know.
No ice in paradise. Yeah. He'd smash it on the ground there and think it was a good idea to leave crumbled up glass on the beach. But hey, who am I? And Beth wearing high heels to a high profile, chase. But it was a good show. I enjoyed it. I binge watched Dog Bounty Hunter a whole bunch of times. I'm guilty. I always wanted to go to Hawaii just to walk in his office.
Yeah, I've watched it too. I watched that one. I like lizard lick towing too, where the guys would go tow someone's car,
yeah.
Then they'd come in and smash the office apart.
Yeah.
It had like a prop table in a vase with a plastic flower in it. Everything was Velcroed together, so you could smash it up on Monday and have another episode Tuesday. But yeah, that's the brilliance of reality TV, and just the parameter, is this real? So
yeah. I mean, you can't tell if most of the reality shows, and I've done this research too. I'm alone a lot, as you can tell, and I read. If a question pops in my head, I'm like, Google, And a lot of these reality shows, they're scripted to a certain degree, like Catfish, for example. That show Catfish. Catfishing is a very dangerous thing in some cases, and it's not like Neve and Max are going to go knock on some random person's door because they got a lead. They have to be in production with the person. They have to coordinate that surprise meeting or first meeting.
Yeah.
So it's not all what you think it is. And these repo shows like Airplane Repo, that one's the funniest.
Yeah, that one's so scary. Yeah, you get federal guidelines being violated and
all day long.
So yeah, that's scripted, and Catfish is scripted. I mean, the Craigslist killer was not scripted at all, but you could read the court transcripts about it.
Yeah, and that's an interesting case too. And then they had that. I was actually in the virtual audience for Dr. Phil. They did an episode on that guy who pulled off the biggest catfish scam of all. He played the son of a guy who was a gold dealer. He was real big into gold over in Europe, and he played this rich guy who had billions of dollars, and he would rope these girls in and then come up with these crazy stories that, if I don't come up with $20,000 now, I'm going to get killed and I can't touch my money and blah, blah, blah. And these women gave it to him.
Yeah, well, that's fresh territory there. Yeah. I mean, the Nigerian prince did not email anyone below the Mason-Dixon line. So in this case, he had it is like shooting fish in a barrel, hence the show.
Yeah. I mean, I've always thought about becoming a catfish, and not for hooking up reasons, just to see how far people would go. But again, you got to be careful with that, because my luck, I would be on that phone call just that 1 second too long and get that ping, and my exact location would be given up. And Rebecca, who's in the audience, would know where I live. And, I
Well,
don't know.
you got a bat at one door, a golf club at another door. Hell, you'd have to buy a tennis racket for the other
Yeah.
entrance because you'd be a potential for a kick down the door deal.
Yeah, can you imagine that fight with the cops? Holy smokes. We dragged Frankie J out of his residence today. One hand a tennis racket, the other hand a baseball bat, and the other hand a golf club.
Yeah,
Wait, how many hands?
he bowled a 285 on his way down the down Kenmore Ave.
Yeah.
He
To the
stopped at every
Kenmore
bowling
lanes.
alley.
Yeah. I always went bowling at this place where I always got stuck on the one alley where you could lay the ball down and you could see it just on its own roll to the right. And you'd go to the desk and be like, I think that lane's warped. No, it's not. What is? Because I laid it down and it rolls to the right every time. It doesn't matter. I could throw it down the left gutter and it'll come out of the left gutter and roll to the right. I want a refund of my shoes.
Yeah, and you could be at the end and it'll come out on alley 3, right?
Yeah, right.
I got a strike and my ball came out the ball return at a different bowling alley.
Yeah, and you're like, I want my money back. And then they, and then they have these bowling nights where they have loud music and all these black lights and craziness going on. It's like I can't even bowl when it's quiet and I can concentrate, let alone with teenagers selfieing and going nuts and crazy. I miss the roller skating rinks too. Where you could run into the carpeted walls and have brush burns on your elbows.
Oh yeah, that was fun. And again, way before the internet, and
Yep.
the only thing you had in your back pocket was a big comb and some
Yeah.
of your pride. That was about all you had.
Yeah. And then you'd have to rent the brown roller skates that had zero ankle support.
Yep,
And
maybe you had enough money for a soft pretzel.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. That was a good night. If you got soft pretzel money, that was a good night at the roller skating rink. I would still go to a roller rink, but I'd probably get made fun of. I'd probably get kicked out. Oh, you're a pedophile. Why? Because I'm roller skating? Well, because you're an older guy in a roller skating rink. They'd come up with some kind of lousy baloney for that. But I always go back to I tell people the story. People were asking me, they like to ask me about my upcoming shows. Why are you bringing this person on? Who is this person? And I always answered the question specifically for you when I was bringing you on the show. Who is this guy? How do you know him? I'm like, well, we have to go to the dark side for one of the programs, and then we have to keep it G-rated on this program. So how do I know him? We worked with each other almost 20 years ago. It was back in 2000.
Yeah, the Park Country Club. I was there from 98 until 06. So I think you and I worked together in 2004, 5, 6, around there at the end of the run. So which is
that was
over
a fun
15
part.
years ago. Yeah,
it's almost 20 because I met my first wife there. I should have left her in the salad area that night. I don't know why I saved her.
Yeah.
She was red flagging, and I should have known that wasn't a red flag for the golf course. But I remember you worked in the basement. Now he worked in the basement, everybody, and he had the hardest job. I'll tell people this: the absolute most ridiculous, hardest, and stupidest job ever. Because you should have had 3 helpers. I always told you that. I used to get mad. He did all the invoicing, all the intake of the product coming in, the distribution of the product going to each department, and he had to keep an inventory on a daily, minute basis on what was going out, what was coming in, what was being sent back, used, whatever, and then do monthly inventory for a country club. And he did it on his own. I don't know how you did it. You were a friggin' maniac.
If you didn't know it was a country club, someone would say the most difficult. They probably thought I worked at like a nuclear power plant.
Jeepers.
Handed out rods of uranium-235.
You could have. You were down in the basement alone long enough. You could have done whatever you wanted.
It was pretty cool though, because I was always a foodie and liked food, and it wasn't like if you worked at Taco Bell, the meat in a bag comes in, and or if you work at John and Mary's, the sub rolls show up. But it was everything you could imagine with, prime cuts of meat and, edible flowers and, shrimp and seafood and just all kinds of great things. And just the sheer amount of alcohol that they drank there.
Oh, God.
So I would get all that in and,
when they didn't lock it up. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. but working there was fun because we got to try all kinds of foods. And
Yeah.
but yeah, it was tough and challenging receiving in the product and doing the inventory. But we had a lot of fun there. One thing, if you never worked in food and beverage, you wouldn't know that how crazy it is in the kitchens. At that country club we worked at, I almost said
Yeah.
which one. Behind that beautiful mahogany wood stainless steel door was some of the most graphic content, some of the worst profanity, the most prolific sexual harassment,
Oh
and
my
and
God.
and some of the waitresses were even would like to fight. So besides the waitresses, yeah, some of the guys were pretty bad too.
Yeah, there was definitely a good roster of characters there, and I, f- for some reason, I was always the capable one of becoming the top most wanted in every kitchen I ever worked in. I was the guy everyone wanted to yell at, if you recall.
Yeah. Oh, you. I think it was fun to yell at you, so they liked that.
Yeah,
So
oh, they loved it. And I still have a secret that I've never told, and I want to see if, as we talk here, it comes back to you, on something that happened one evening that I took the blame for, that I never did, that I never owned up to doing, and I still don't, and I still never did. And T probably still knows I did it, but I never told him I did it because I didn't do it. It was one of those really confusing moments in my life.
yeah.
But we had an intern there for a summer, real big, tall kid. You'll remember as we go on here.
Oh,
And
a sweet roll was it?
nope,
Oh, it wasn't sweet. Everyone there had a nickname too. So
well, Sweet Roll. I don't remember that one.
Sweet Roll, his real name was Jimmy. He was a real big, tall
Oh
kid,
no,
about
wasn't
six
him.
seven, and we called him Sweet Roll because he had these real big cheeks. You remember those sweet rolls that would come in the metal tin with the plastic bag over them, and they're like a raspberry with the
Yeah,
icing on top, and it swirled. Well, that's what his cheeks looked like. It was a big, swirly sweet roll,
I love
and
the nickname.
yeah. So, but everyone did have a nickname. So go on with your description. Let me see if I can
Okay,
pin this. It looks like
so
your room people are raising their hands because they want to ask about it.
yep, we got Mojo in the room, and I want you to meet him. Rich, he's a great guy. I had him on as a guest a couple of shows ago, and talk about having fun times and laughing, and that is Mojo Rising over
That's
here.
a cool name.
But
Yeah.
I'll give you a hint. He was an intern in our kitchen for a summer. He
Intern.
was
Okay.
he was getting ready to go to college. The most famous pristine college, Johnson and Wales.
Oh yeah.
And he came in our kitchen for a summer as an intern, and he was already a chef. He was one of those, I'm already a chef. He wore a size 18 shoe probably, and his knees kind of were in. He was so big, like giant Titus,
Yeah.
and me and him didn't get along very well. He used to always try to poke at me, and I got him really good one night, and I didn't do it though. Well, it was the next day. It was discovered, and Tom had to take care of it.
I'm feeling the vibe on it. I mean, if a
Yeah.
guy's that big with that big a foot, you could do anything you want
Well,
to him. Then
it
just run
took a
up
whole
the
bottle
stairs.
of sriracha hot sauce to do what I did,
Oh,
or
now
what I was accused of.
Oh, it went in somebody's shoes.
Yeah,
And
that's the story.
they had orthotics in their shoes, right? And it ruined them. Isn't it? Now, how the hell could I remember something that long ago?
Because it was me.
The giant Titus didn't ring the bell.
Yeah.
It wasn't Sweet Roll. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, there was a lot of pranksters there. The one guy, Charlie, someone messed with him, and he got him back by wrapping about a softball fist size chunk of broccoli in saran wrap. Then he put it in a drawer for about 3 weeks. When it was time for the payback, where they'd left their window open in their car. So he got that softball-sized thing of broccoli and punched holes in it with a knife and threw it in their window. And it was the most disgusting smell.
Can you imagine?
You would do not break his balls because he got another guy back. He had one of the waitresses, they didn't lock their car. Get in their car.
Mojo's laughing.
She took her shoes off and put footprints on the inside of the windshield on the passenger side.
Nice.
So when the light was just right, they're probably just pulling into Anderson's custard and ice cream, right? And parked the car when the twilight came in, and then the shit hit the fan.
Oh, yeah.
So, but they got Charlie back one time. when I was
Oh, the Boston
introduced
Red
to him.
Sox license plate?
Yeah,
That
and
was me.
you did that one too. Well,
Yeah, that was my
Charlie.
idea.
When I met him, I said, "Hi, my name's Rich." He goes, "Look it, one thing, the Red Sox. I fucking hate them, and if you like them, you." And he
That
got
was the
right in my
first time you met
face.
him?
Yeah, that's how he introduced himself, and I
Whoa.
wasn't quite sure if if it was for real. He hated Boston. I went, "Oh no, I don't like Boston."
Yeah,
So,
relax, old guy.
and so you were the one. Why don't you tell what you did?
Well, because he used to always pick on me. Hey, Frankie. He had that
Oh, you
like
clear his
noise.
throat. Yeah.
Yeah, every 2 seconds you knew Charlie was in the house because you hear, and I used
Sounded
to make fun of
like
him.
an Edsel starting
Oh
up.
my god! And he was breaking my balls in one day, and I said, I'm going to get this son of a pup back. I'm going to get him. So I went to the sporting goods store at the mall, and it was $14.99. I remember the price, and I bought a Boston Red Sox license plate cover. And I went out to his pickup truck because we used to have to park way out a quarter mile away from the joint by the tennis courts.
Right.
And so I had the perfect cover, a quarter mile from the building, trees. It was a perfect situation. And I sat there and I unscrewed his license plate and I put the cover on that sucker. And it was out there for a couple weeks, if not a month or longer, before he found
Right.
out. But I don't think he ever found out it was me. I think he thought it was a group of us.
Yeah, I think he thought it was someone else, maybe Don or someone. But what happened was that he was putting groceries in the back of his truck, an old pickup truck with the cap, and
His old Ford
3 on the
F-150.
tree, and it was a pretty prestigious area near the country club. He lived a couple miles away, right?
Yeah, right.
Probably in a little ranch, whatever. And when he was putting the groceries in his car at Wegmans, he had the back, the tailgate down, and he got to the last item. So he turned with the gallon of milk in his hand, and for some reason looked down, or maybe he put the lid of the trunk lid up, and he saw it, and he just started, as the story went, started to shake, and had a Boston Red Sox conniption. He had this, just a fit. And involuntarily turned and threw the gallon of milk, kind of like one of those hammer throws.
Really?
It landed a couple aisles away and exploded.
Holy, so he got that mad about it?
He had a full meltdown. So
that's a mission accomplished. Holy cow. I often wonder if he's still hanging around because he used to make those chocolates every Christmas.
That's right.
The truffles. And he did it as a hobby in his basement. That was kind of like his version of Jethro Gibbs on NCIS, always making a boat in his basement. He would always make chocolate, and that was his hobby. He used to do.
It's a pretty good comparison,
Yeah, you always wonder how he got the boat out of the basement. I finally figured that out too. Yeah. Jethro Gibbs took brick by brick out just for the perfect shape of the boat.
What was the name of that boat? The one that blew up?
Kelly.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah, he made the boat after his daughter that got killed by that drug cartel guy.
Yeah, so he made the chocolates in the basement.
He made the chocolates in the basement.
Did we buy them from him?
Yeah, he would sell the boxes of truffles for $10 each to us at $15 for anybody else. It was more of like a referral thing. It wasn't a business. Yeah. It was a hobby. But he used to do it real nice individually. And he made the chocolate the old school way, like heating it up to temperature with the thermometers. And I mean, he did it the old school way. And then he'd put the fillings, sometimes of alcohol and.
Oh, that's how you do it. You got to do it in your basement like that. You need the thermometer. Mima gets the Pitzel maker down there in the basement, and all health code bets are off. The temperature danger zone's irrelevant, but you make that stuff down there, and that stuff comes out good, right?
That's the best shit ever.
Yeah, that little gas oven. And, people went from, cooking chocolates to, cooking meth in the basement. And, the other 11 months out of the year, I mean, it was a good side business.
Yeah. I mean, if you did it right, you kept it referral only and didn't put big banner on your window like you're selling Avon and the next answer to everyone's skin problems. But, I have skin problems written all over your car. I sell Avon and skin products, which means you have skin problems and you got suckered into a business. So I'm definitely
not calling you. Where do we go from
here? Where do I follow you? Let me get up next to you and see what you look like.
Yeah.
But oh man, some funny times. But I also to try to get a little serious there, and I remember this story, and you don't have to go into it if you don't want to, but I do remember the passion that you had when you used to tell this story, because it was the way you told it in the comical way, but the truth behind it. See, I love a true story. I'm a sucker for a documentary. I'm a sucker for movies that say based on a true story,
Yeah.
because then if you cry, it's valid, you know? Especially if it's a sad story like The Blind Side. I still tear up when the kid said that was his first bed. But anyways, you went to high school, or was middle school or high school time, and you had this person that used to in school mess with you, a bully,
Yeah.
just a pure monster, a monster bully. And you had mentioned it was like almost what, 20 years maybe after high school.
Yeah, it's so funny. I know where you're going, and I
Again, you
just
don't have to
thought
talk
about
about
this
it,
guy. I just
but
thought about
I
this
thought it
guy
would
the
be
other
something
day.
funny for people that deal with bullies. Sometimes the
Yeah.
old school way is the best way to deal with it.
Well, yeah, old school was the way, and
Yeah.
uh, when sometimes when you got a bully, and we all know how bad bullying is and what it does, but I said I'm going to get that guy back one day. The guy that grabbed the back of my orange banana seat bicycle and
Oh
pulled it
yeah.
down, and his friend had on one of those tuxedo T-shirts. This is just making the date. Show it's all the mid to late 70s. Let the air out of my tires on my bike on the playground at
Oh,
79th Street School and slammed the bike, and then they punched me in the stomach. The
ooh.
old playground punch you in the stomach. And the reason they came after us, we were lighting off like firecrackers or something. So but what was humiliating was pushing my bike home with flat tires, and
Yeah.
pushing up the driveway, and dealing with my father. What happened? And
Yeah. And you
I
get blamed for
guess,
something you didn't do.
yeah, and I think it was older people, or older kids, and I was probably only in fifth grade. So what happened was I did see him. He was in a motorcycle accident, and he was at the Summit Park Mall sitting out in front of Jen's.
To those of you that don't know, Summit Park Mall used to be a very, very famous mall out in Niagara
Yeah.
Falls. I think since has closed down,
Yeah,
but that
yeah. It's
used to
going to
be
be a
the
haunted
mall.
house this
Yeah, should be.
fall on Williams Road.
Well, they don't have
But
to pay for any additional chemicals to make it glow green, which is pretty
yeah,
cool. But
yeah, you
anyways,
can
that's another
push your
story.
friend in the fountain. And I
Yeah.
saw him there one day, and I said, "Oh, here's my chance." And the best part was is he's in a wheelchair, and he had one of those things with his leg, elevated up in front of him.
The special
And
attachment.
and I think I was in a fraternity at the time, and I had my cool frat coat. And I remember walking by him and up to him, and in one solid motion, without thinking, swiped the cane that was stuck in the side of the wheelchair. Now, again, he was a few years older than me, and this was probably, let's see, beat me up when I was in fifth grade. So I was, 10 or 11. So yeah, maybe it was 10 years later, maybe not even 10. And I walked by that wheelchair, and I took the cane out of the side of the wheelchair and wound up and said, "Remember me, mother?" And I laid into it, and I smashed his leg that was elevated, I don't know, a couple, 3 times hard. And he screamed. Now, if you're walking down the mall and you see a guy with a cane beating the guy in a wheelchair's leg apart with it, you have to say, man, that's some crazy shit. I mean, he must have taken credits from him on Space Invaders in the game room. He must have, taken his slice of pizza from Leon's, or maybe put his cigarette out in the tin ashtray at the food court. But yeah, it was more than that. And I got him. I laid into him. And then I just dropped the cane on the ground, and, just like in Goodfellas,
Walk away
I
slowly.
dropped it and walked away. Leave the cane, take the
Yep.
pride with you.
Yeah, it's like that scene in the movie American Gangster where Frank Lucas gets his brothers together for breakfast, and he sees the guy out walking the sidewalk who owes him money, and he empties the sugar container. I'll be
Yeah.
right back. And he goes out there. He goes, "Where's my money, Tango? I gave you a product. I want my money. What are you gonna do? Shoot me out here?" Boom!
Yeah.
Pulls his head off, takes his 20%,
Yeah.
puts it down
Yeah.
on the ground, and walks back into the diner and wipes his hand with a napkin. Where
There
were
you
we?
go.
So no, the reason
So
I
yeah,
like
that's
that
one of the
story.
assaults that I did.
Hey.
Had he been polishing his Corvette in the driveway, I could have pistol whipped him and said, "I did this to you," but we didn't quite get that far.
Hey, you know what though? I've had people do things to me where if I was given that opportunity, I mean, how sweet is it sometimes? And you shouldn't teach revenge. You shouldn't teach that, But there are some bullies that and he's probably the type of guy that would be like, "Hey man, how have you been? I haven't seen you in 20 years."
Yeah.
I get that impression that that would be the sort of person this guy was, anyways.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And you know what? Just to sum it up, he suffered such ill fate with his life of things that happened to him. And now,
after,
I mean, I would make amends with the guy at
yeah,
any time. And something, I won't go into everything that happened to him,
yeah,
but
yeah,
just something so devastating happened to him with his family that I wouldn't covet anything to have to accept that kind of pain in my life. So at the
yeah,
end of the day, you can make up with or forgive people. So
sure,
that, I learned not to covet, and I learned to
yeah,
forgive in that regard. Welcome to the Ministry Friday show. You could be
yeah.
watching the Mets game, but here you are. Yes.
Well, it is funny to tell these stories, though. I mean, you got to admit, it is fun to tell these stories because there are so many kids out there that would love for that
Yeah.
opportunity
Yeah.
and to have the perfect setting. His leg was already ready.
Yeah. Oh
The
yeah.
cane was right there.
I nailed them.
Grab and swing, baby.
Yeah.
You can't get any easier
Yeah.
than that. And I've never forgotten that story
Yeah.
because you told it with such passion. And when we,
Yeah.
had the room and we weren't in our studios, I mean, you could actually act it out. And I
Yeah.
remember when you
Yeah.
would act things out, it was like full gung ho ahead, and Lambo's acting out, and it was awesome. It was a great story. It stuck with me for all these years. And anytime I think of revenge and how I would get somebody, the first thing that pops up in my head is a wheelchair, and I thought it was a crutch,
Yeah.
and you wailing
Yeah. It
on
was a
said
cane. Yeah.
person. So you were motivational to
Yeah.
me, man.
And I hit him with the end on that with the handle too, so that hurt. But
Oh, that added.
the people walking by probably with canes probably threw the cane and ran down the mall and jumped in the fountain. They said,
Yeah,
"I'm not going
yeah, the
down
ones
there."
that didn't really need the
Yeah.
canes. Yep,
Yeah.
that's another show.
The-
Social Security fraud. But
yeah.
so yeah, so we'll fast forward a little bit. I just wanted to
Yeah.
to talk about that because that was one of our most hilarious moments. Let alone me coming to one of your comedy shows and pouring sugar on myself, or beer actually, and being asked to. I was asked nicely to leave. I think actually,
Was that at Comics Cafe?
that was at Comics Cafe.
Yeah.
I used to frequent your comedy shows and try to put on my own comedy shows outside the green room, and went a little too far with the Def Leppard song the one night. Was asked very kindly to leave, and I did. I needed a shower anyways after that, but it was always fun going to your comedy shows, and I used to love the stories that you'd come back to work with the next day, and the amount of fun that we would have. I told
Oh
people
yeah.
that you were probably the solo, no pun intended, solo reason I stayed there as long as I did because the job was crummy. I mean, there was a point where
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I don't even want to go anymore because they started reconstructing this and they wanted to recreate the wheel here and there and everywhere. And I was like, why are we making things hard? Like, I understand. It works, leave it. But because of you and you're just humble, happy all the time, even when life sucked at its worst, doing that job, you kept a smile on your face
Yeah.
and you made it fun. And there's
Oh, I
not
was
enough
off
people
the
like you.
wall too,
Oh
Franklin. It was
yeah.
just I think back to the things I did, and just it was. Thank you though. I mean, I think a lot of it when you can add levity to a situation or have
Yeah.
fun, or especially when the pressure's on, and people see these shows with kitchens and
Yeah.
cooking and chefs. But yeah, it was tense. But I had so much range there. I could just I could do anything I wanted, and it
Pretty
was
much.
fun. It was fun.
Well,
Plus, we could drink on the job and stuff like that. People don't know about how much fun that is when you can drink on the job.
oh God. I mean, yeah. I mean, we had a very famous cook that worked with us, and the dumbest thing about it is he didn't have to hide it, but he did. He tried,
Mm.
and he just did. I mean, we all went up to him one day and said, "You don't have to hide it. We all know you do it. It'd probably be funnier if you didn't hide it because we're
Yep.
laughing at you hiding it, and we know you're
Yeah.
hiding it."
There was
And
one guy. Go ahead. Finish
no,
that.
no, no. It's probably the same guy.
Well, there was one guy that drank on the job, and you drank for fun most of the time, right? We had a stupid wax, blue and white cup with that stupid pattern on it. We'd put draft beer in it and sip it with a lid. But one guy got pretty messed up, and we couldn't figure where he was keeping the alcohol because he was a prep cook, I believe, and so it wasn't in his locker. We were watching him like, oh, where's he getting the booze? When's he drinking it? He wasn't going in the bathroom, and it wasn't on him per se. Well, one day he came out of the walk-in cooler, and I was, of course, putting product away. And I remember I was rolling something in on a dolly, and I came in fast right when he left, and I dropped the product, whatever it was, and all of a sudden I heard ta-ting, ta-ting,
Oh.
ta-ting, ta-ting, almost like the distant buoy bell ringing in Jaws, da da
Yeah.
da. And I
Do, do,
looked
do,
and I
do.
saw the fin or the black cap float in the air out of the 15-gallon stock pot of French onion soup that
Oh,
sat in the cooler, and we would, portion it out. So he would take the sip of the cheap brandy, put the lid back on it, drop it in the French onion soup, and it would float underneath. When he needed another nip, I guess he'd adulterate the food and reach in there,
oh,
pull it back
jeez.
out and take a sip. Well, there wasn't that much left, so the air pocket in the bottle had it floating and tinging off the side. Now, if that's not a brilliant way to consume alcohol while you're working, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, especially the greasiness involved there. I
Oh,
don't.
sure.
Oh
Nothing
my
like your
God,
breath stinking like cheap brandy and
French
onion
onion
soup.
soup. Oh
Yeah,
God, bless his soul.
at
Unbelievable,
9 a.m.
unbelievable. At 9 a.m. Yeah, yeah. The guy I was speaking of was a line cook, and he was just a hot mess. And he had problems, obviously, but I
Oh,
remember
I know who
we
you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, it got so bad at one point that one of our one of our supervisors took the bottle that he was using for his supply and filled it with vinegar.
Yeah.
So that way, when he would chug real quick, he'd learn real quick
Yeah.
that that bottle no longer
You know,
contained wine. But
and all these antics. I mean, with Charlie and getting him back. The other gag we did, we had a prop M80, the round cylinder of an M80
yeah,
that was fake and hollow, and we put one of those underwater wicks in it, an M80 wick, and
yeah,
light it and shove it under the door when he was in there, on the morning business after he was sitting down for about a minute and a half. Could you imagine
I
your pants are
remember that.
down
He
on the
went
floor?
nuts. Yeah,
Yeah, and someone sticks an M80 under the door in a small restroom. I mean, what do you do? Well, you can't do much, but that was a good one. At least he was sitting on the commode at the time.
I mean, the toilet paper
You know,
was like the walls. It was
yeah,
it was a good hiding spot though.
yeah. I mean, just the antics went on and on and on. Nothing too unsafe. Just
Yeah, according to those days
explore.
standards.
Yeah,
Oh, the jumping the fence at night to go in the pool. That was always
yeah.
fun.
So yeah, I think over the years, Frankie, we had fun and
Oh,
busting people's chops and jokes, and a lot of that can't happen. And I'll admit, a lot of it was on the fringe of being not HR compliant type of thing, and the language and profanity, and it was a different time, and
oh yeah.
working the comedy clubs at night and then going in there, it was almost like the workday was the show, and then I'd have to boil things down for the stage. So
I believe that too because we used to do some stuff in that place, and I always was I remember almost losing my job because I left work Sunday night to go home and watch The Sopranos. There was a big deal made out of it because the show came on Sunday nights, 8 p.m.
yeah,
HBO. I didn't have DVR. I just didn't. And I remember Sunday nights we'd do our cookouts, and I was always done in time where I could zip home 5 minutes away, and they just weren't going to let me leave.
yeah,
Tom, Jeff, they weren't going to let me leave. And I said, well, I'm leaving. Sopranos is coming on. Sorry. And I left. And the next day, I had to go in, big meeting, got reprimanded, written
yeah,
up, and everything else. And I'll never forget, asking me why I left. And I said, well, I told you I was going to watch The Sopranos and I didn't want to miss it. And T laughed at me so hard, he actually took the write up and ripped it up. He did. He was like,
yeah,
it's so funny that I
yeah,
can't go through with it. He told the truth. I'm like,
yeah,
well, yeah, it's The Sopranos. But he liked The Sopranos, so I guess he had some room in his heart for me. But
yeah,
so real quick, we're almost up at the top of the hour here already. Holy smokes! What I want,
yeah.
if you want to take a few minutes, why don't you tell everybody? Okay, so we talked about our whole past and the fun times we've had. What do you got going on currently in the comical world? that you'd like to tell people about might not necessarily be here in our audience listening, but I do get a lot of audience or a lot of show replays, so people will get the information.
Yeah.
If they're in the Niagara Falls region or the Buffalo region, what do you have going on, and at what spots do you have it going on? And you can also shoot me an email from your solo show's email, and what I can do is I'll put up all those dates and events on my website for people to take a peek at if anyone's wondering what you got going on, when and where and how.
Yeah, I mean, I could send it from AOL, or just
Yeah.
go one resource earlier and do like the Pony Express, or
Yeah. Start today. I'll
even
get it by next Monday.
Morse code of something. But
And then we'll let Mojo come up and ask a few questions.
yeah, so
certain.
right now, I mean, this Magical Mystery Tour, with doing stand up, started in pre-internet times, and going to the Buffalo Funny Bone in 1995.
Oh, geez, I remember that place.
Yeah, I did that Funny Bone for 2 years. Then I went to improv comedy with Comedy Sports for 10. Then I started teaching writing classes for 4 years. Then back to improv again with stand up in between and the open mics. And then it just I went back and forth between stand up and improv. Well, now, or say pre-pandemic, right when it was ready to start, I joined an improv group called Western New York Improv, and they graciously welcomed me in February of 2020. After the third practice, we did, improv open jams and such. We went, we shut down. So during that time, we all remember the Zoom meetings and oh my God, but we did some online stuff and improv and some shows and some scripted kind of dinner theater things. And we made videos like, this is all like this. It's almost like talking about slip and slides and jarts and super soaker squirt guns. What did I do with my summer? But we filmed videos of different fun things. So the improv group was really instrumental in keeping me sane during the shutdown. Coming out of it, then Western New York Improv did shows all around the area, the Fringe Festival, the Buffalo Fringe Fest. And they had other gigs too at schools and even ones during the day with like kid day camps. It was fun, G rated during the day, and at night we'd go to R or so. So what we're doing also is similar to dinner theater, and that's what the show is actually tomorrow. Tomorrow on Saturday, and then again Sunday at 1:00. And if you go to the WNYimprov.net or .com, WNYimprov.com also, you can see the page with past shows. And with the Great Train Robbery tomorrow, we'll be on a moving live vintage restored train with open air cars, closed cars, a bar car.
I love that.
In a caboose in an 1850 period time frame with characters, improvising and, like Tony and Tina's wedding kind of thing. But I feel like I'd be downplaying if I said that, because this is loosely based with the script. The train's going to stop. It's halfway along the way, and the Buffalo Jamestown Cattaraugus Railroad, BC&J Railroad, it does other slow rolls where they go about 20 miles an hour, fall foliage shows and Halloween shows. But this train robbery, we're actually going to stop, and the train robbery is going to occur. We were looking at getting horses and everything. I said, wow, this is turning into too much. The train people actually said we can stop on private property and blow up a safe, if you like, in a cornfield. And we just, as we're just sheer out of dynamite this week. So
yeah, we don't want to get any possible.
Another felony, right?
Something would happen. Yeah.
So this show is going to be neat. It's a 1850s train robbery show, and the characters and the prelude of the characters, context, and even motives is on the website there. If you just click off of the top of the page and go to the Great Train Robbery.
Western New York Improv.net, baby. Got
it. I'm playing a character. It's I'm actually going to be a priest in this one. I'm usually the heavy. I'm usually the hitman.
Mojo, you get ready for this one.
And I'm going to be Father Michael St. Pope. on the train. Well, hijinks going to ensue. There's a lot that's going to happen and go on, and the train will go. And we're going to use the diesel train tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
With the steam train, there's too much soot that shoots all over the people.
And I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's pretty cool. I mean, so to do a live show, a
Awesome.
comedy on a train that's moving. I mean, the only one not enjoying it are the people stuck when we go across a road and they got to drop down the barrier and they got to wait for 6 minutes for the train to pass. They're pissed.
Well,
But
yeah, but don't worry about them. That's not your problem, right? You're not the one
yeah,
dropping the gate.
yeah. So that'll be tomorrow, and then again Sunday. This Sunday we'll do it once more. And if people check out that website, they'll see some of the other dinner theater, and it's
Okay.
fun and interactive. And this one doesn't have food, but there is a bar car. And whether you come see us, we did the Fringe Festival at Mohawk Place, at a new place, the Central Park Grill on Allen, and then we did the Gypsy Parlor. So we'll do those Fringe Festival shows
The
too.
old
So
school downtown, like where the
yeah, and these are
cobblestone and all that used to
yep.
be.
Whose line is it anyway? Type shows.
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
And that's what we'll filter those in and out. So yeah, the stand-up world I just haven't been in. I've been doing the improv stuff quite a while,
Yeah.
and I taught stand-up comedy for a long time and writing. And you even remember when I wrote for the ventriloquist Otto Peterson? Remember
Yep.
him?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
We
poor
hung out
Otto.
with him one night. Yeah.
Yeah, poor Otto passed away in
Oh,
2014 of meningitis of
jeez.
all things. But to
Jeepers.
write for your favorite performer, and he was
That's
my favorite
come true.
performer, yes, and to write for him and write jokes, especially the X-rated ones, that
Well,
I
yeah,
would
and
never do.
well, he became very famous for that. I remember he had the puppet too, didn't he?
Yeah, well, his
And
New York Times obituary said the voice of vulgarity dies.
yeah,
He wasn't.
he had his hate fans for sure. I remember,
Yeah, oh, he
but
was brutal. He was brutal, but
he was. I mean, he made Andrew Dice Clay look like a good child.
yeah, he hated Dice because Dice took the nursery rhymes from him.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of different stories, but yeah, Dice, Otto Peterson did, start out with the nursery rhymes. That's what he, said. And back then we didn't have the, TikTok to prove a timeline, but Otto was a ventriloquist his whole life as a kid. His most famous story was that John Lennon once tipped him $2 when he was performing in Central Park. And everyone always asked him, "Did you save the $2?" And he says, "No, I had to eat." So,
Yeah.
I spent it.
Hey,
But
well, that's
writing
still
for
the
a
truth.
ventriloquist is tough because the punchlines couldn't be words, verbiage, and syllables, where his lips would move because the dummy did the punchlines.
Oh,
Once
and
I
that's
had
a
Martina
talent, man.
Navratilova.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, that was fun. So yeah, that's what I did with my
Awesome. Good
sixth
story.
grade English, was learned how to write jokes where someone did not move their lips.
Well, I'm gonna have to look into that and figure that out. But if it's all right with you, Rich, I got Mojo up on the stage. He's a
Yeah,
really great friend of mine, and he's got such a sense of humor. And if you wouldn't mind fielding a couple questions here to wrap it up, Mojo, unmute your mic, and uh, if you want, you can come up on the camera. I don't know,
yeah, I've
can you hear?
seen
How do I
Mojo's.
do that? How do I get on camera?
I'll invite you
Let's
right
see
now.
here.
Invite to
All right,
video.
cool.
But I thought that you ought to meet Mojo, because I'll tell you something. This guy, just seeing him makes me laugh, Rich.
I was
And,
watching his emoji and emojis and all that going off. It was cool. It was like a fireworks show, man. It was cool, man. Hey,
Yeah,
nice to meet you.
nice to meet you, sir. It's so fun to hear, listen to your career. I do have a quick story and then a couple questions. I was at one of the famous comedy clubs in LA probably 30 years ago. My buddy and I went early and we didn't know what we were doing, so we got the seat right on the stage, like right at the foot. And of course, the comedians that come on early, the warm ups, they suck. And so we're bored to tear track of, did they even make us smile? Did they make us laugh? And one lady comedian, I don't remember her name, she looks down and she goes, "Are you keeping track of how many times you made us laugh?" And of course, we're caught right there. So I go, "Yeah, you're at 1.5." Right. But the worst part about and the best part about that night was at the very end, Richard Pryor, who was not on the bill, he's still alive. He shows up in the back, however he does this, and they just announce, "Hey, guess who's here? We're gonna bring him up, Richard Pryor." And my buddy and I I was supposed to take him to LAX that night for a flight, And so we're like, okay, we got to stay. We got to see Richard Pryor. It's like a legend, right? Richard Pryor comes out and he's just dropping F-bombs and he's like swearing and I think he's drunk or on drugs, who knows what. And we ran out of time. So I said, oh, we got to go. But of course, we're on the front row. So we stand up and we have to walk all the way through the tables to the back door. And so from the time we stand up until we get out the back door, Richard Pryor is just ripping us up and down, making fun of our, the size of our genitalia and our sexual orientation, and on he goes. And as embarrassing as that was, I was laughing the whole time. And I thought, well, I could say I was the butt of Richard Pryor's joke. So I guess that's something.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Hi, Sonia. Welcome. Sonia's another supporter.
Yeah, I sat ringside one time for Tommy Chong, and he got on his hands and knees and ran around like a dog and like lifted his leg up to pee on our table. So yeah, I kind of get how you feel, but yeah, I wouldn't want to did what you do. To do what you did.
So I got a question for you. So for many of us that look at someone like you who gets to entertain for a living, it looks, from our side, just like super fun. But I do know a lot of people, when their living is dependent on their passion, sometimes the joy gets sucked out of it, right? That it's really about a paycheck and I have to do it rather than I get to do it. It doesn't sound like that's the case with you, but how do you balance that where your paycheck is also your passion?
Yeah, those people who had to make it work and happen, like when I worked at the Funny Bone in the early 95, 96, and the opener slept on an air mattress, the middle slept on the couch, and the headliner slept in the bed in the bedroom at the Comedy Condo. And these guys would go to the mall for pizza during the day. I mean, it's not glamorous. But what does keep you alive is the passion and the drive and to show, the accomplishment. For me, fortunately, I always had a career on one side and did this at night and, wrote at night, and the club was 12 minutes from my house. I could drive there. And, one time the owner called me and said, "Hey, Lambo, there's a guy here from the Howard Stern show, Craig Gass, wants to do a guest spot." I'm like, "Oh yeah, let him on." And I said, "I'll be there in 13 minutes. So, but those guys, had the passion on the road. And I think, those that keep going, because, anyone who was in a band wanted to make it. Anyone who, had some type of talent wanted to make it to the top. But comedy, you had to just, keep pushing with the passion, and everything else had to go aside. And I remember the Y in the Road days where I had to make a choice with the phone call. Would you come out to LA to write for this show? And you got to come next week or you're out. And I made the choice to stay home at that point. So I would have to say that my passion was outweighed by, of course, I had a daughter at the time, and I'm still torn from something that happened back in 1996. So
yeah, of course, we all have those moments, right?
Yeah.
So my other question to you is, go ahead.
The passion. I don't think I fully really answered it, but the passion still is driven in me. And sometimes you just think, geez, I wasn't successful at all. I didn't make a dent. But sometimes you look at the impact you've had, and, having the comedy writing classes where I taught, 275 performers, and a couple of them made it. I mean, I could teach 275 people to play basketball. None of them are making the NBA, man. And
that's a great point. That's statistics. Right. And if out of 275 you get one or two that make it, that's pretty damn good.
One or two are headlining, and others did it on a bucket list. About 15 to 20% died at this point. It's a dangerous business, and it's a crazy business, and the passion is fueled from the old cliche, and in some of the comedy writing books you'll read it. Truth plus comedy is truth plus pain divided by time. And look at all the things Frankie and I talked about, so long ago. So you just keep plugging and pushing away. And there's a comedian in Rochester, Ralph Tetta, who has been doing comedy 30 years. And I'll read his post. And he was a truly passionate performer who worked and it put everything else aside and was, successful in many arenas. But sometimes performers aren't considered successful till they're, on Netflix or what have you. So the self-affirmation can be the most rewarding part as well as the most torturous. All right, I feel like I answered it better on that second
Yeah,
rap.
it's very well, very well put. Very well
That's
put.
awesome. That's a
So,
good one.
so my second question is, so I was gonna say, so I'm now 56. I've been telling goofy stories about my life since I was little, and I was been listening to Laugh USA on Sirius XM, and they have the clean comedy, and they say, hey, you got a story to tell, you want to get featured. So I recorded my stuff and I sent it in. I haven't heard back from them, but do you have any tips for someone who would like to dip their toe into the comedy world about how do you get known, how do you get seen, how do you get an option or an offer to be heard?
So often now it's just so digital based. And I was thinking about it today. It's like, geez, I don't have an account on TikTok and I don't have hits on this platform. And, I looked recently for our local club here in Buffalo, Helium, where I did some of the writing classes for quite a few years since, what was that, 19 or whatever it was. So, all the performers or most of the performers are famous from internet media and mediums. So they have the hits, they have the clicks, they have the notoriety, and it's ironic that then they can go into a comedy club, like Steve O did it a long time ago, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan did it a long time ago, where they had other platforms where they were famous, then pulled it into the clubs. Now
Yep.
it's the other way, around. If you want to get in the clubs, you have to find those media and mediums. So originality is super key.
Yeah.
You can read books on writing and take classes and study performers. And I think it's so tough now. The old quote, be a first rate original version of yourself and not a second rate version of someone else. And back in the day, we did impressions of Richard Pryor and, acted like, Bill Cosby or whatever, but just being super original with some hook that people want to see you do. People went to see Steve Martin say, I'm a wild and crazy guy. That's what they waited for.
Yeah.
So not that it's a catchphrase, but just
Yeah, that's right.
pure originality, because to surface, it's so difficult.
Is
And
it fair to say part of it is luck based on who you know and where you go and things like that? Because I took a stand up course this summer actually, stand up comedy course, and it was deep. I mean I'm thinking that's an easy course, not even close.
it's tough. I mean, when I first got Judy Carter's book, Stand Up Comedy, in 1995, and sat and read half of it in my 77 Monte Carlo when I was supposed to be out selling copiers for Canon, I said, wow. And that the passion was lit. So, and then I collected, 250 comedy albums and listened to the masters and, have a storage bin full of videotapes and the Steve Martin and the Robin Williams specials from SNL. And what it boiled down to was who had the pure originality. Steve Martin's
Yeah.
base in study of logic led to his performance of very logic and illogical material. Like, I come on stage and to make myself feel funny, I put a fish in each shoe. And I wouldn't try and deliver Martin's material. Robin Williams was a Juilliard acting student, and his roommate was Christopher Reeves, and he joined an improv troupe called Off the Wall. And many of his characters that were fueled through that and the thousands of hours of performing manifested into his stand-up creations and characters and components and quirks. So what's the old rule? The
Right.
10,000 hours makes you efficient at something. Just like baseball, you play and you think and you listen and you talk and you have the passion in you, and sometimes you don't even get close to making the big leagues. So in you is you just have to say, I want that. You affirm for yourself, and quite often those that make it don't want to be there because of what happens to you. That's a cop out statement, but
Yeah.
it really happens. So take leads from those that you appreciate in their originality, but don't use their material and path, but use the schematic for what they did of an original concept, of a unique phrase, a physical mannerism, a quirk, and find it through the past successes, and then find the piece of originality in there. So.
And you already
I'm
got
happy with the way that was my short answer on that one. So we'll go with that.
That was brilliant.
You got the nickname Mojo. My nickname back in the day was Franklin Monster.
Franklin Monster, yeah.
Franklin Monster. But that's totally a 2-part episode. That's a big story right there.
It's a prehensile type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that one needs time to develop. That's a big story, and we will get into that one in a later date. But if you don't have any more questions, Mojo, or if you do, go ahead and ask them.
If you have one, I'll do a 30-second answer.
Yeah.
Making it is one of those things. Like
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Someone with a guitar wants to go from the band to the recording studio to the tour, and the odds are just so low. The amount of men that play college basketball and how many get drafted is so low. So the realization most of the time, and I remember when I had the moments that I'm not gonna make it. I missed it, but Rodney Dangerfield was in his mid to late 40s selling siding when he decided to perform. So you just never know. You don't have to run a 4.40 to get on stage.
Right.
Good point. Good stuff. Deep stuff. And thanks, Mojo, for being here. Appreciate your support. You know that.
Yeah, thanks.
Love you both.
Mojo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rich, he's a great dude. Mojo, he's been an inspiration to me in many ways.
Give him the applause sound effect. You got that there?
I can't do it from up here. We're the performers.
There it is.
There it is. But he's very inspirational and motivational to me on some of the other platforms that I'm part of now, and I'm glad you guys got a chance to meet. I had told him specifically that I think he would enjoy being here for this show, and I thank you for your time. I know that you're busy. I know that you got a hellacious schedule ahead of you, and last time we tried to hook up in person in the studio, you came over here with COVID. Or symptoms of COVID. So I didn't want to put you in an awkward spot and go on live with you looking like you painted your face white and had a hose hooked up to your hair. But I do appreciate you coming on, taking an hour. Hopefully we can do this again moving forward. I got a new show coming up starting next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's called Frankie J's Takeaway, and I'm going to be doing a weekly NFL talk football show about the games that just happened that weekend and talk about the ones that are coming up the next weekend. I'm going to start that one new, and then I got my Frankie J. Raw show, and they're all going to be live here on Fireside. And Rich solo shows, Lambo. I will put your information up for Western New York Improv.com. I already put it up, everybody. If you're looking on the fortune cookie ticker, once the show is over and you watch the replay, you can actually click right on that link and get right to the website that Rich was talking about to see what he's got coming up, where and when, and all that good stuff. So it's there for you. It's just click and go. Nothing like the 90s. But Rich, I do appreciate you being here. Thanks again. Everybody that's been here for me up until now, thank you for everyone's support and backing. And until next time, everybody, keep it real, keep it safe, and most importantly, keep it raw. And with that being said, Frankie J is going to be out, and we'll bring the weight bot up. Rich, thanks for being here. I appreciate your being here.
Thanks, Frankie.
Lambo, have a great day. Mojo,